welcome to Star Trek Wars, your official bootleg Strange New Worlds podcast. My name is Jeremy. Joining me tonight, both of them hopped up on podcast stimulants. First up, it's Jordan. Hey, Jordan.
Hey, Jeremy. I need some more juice.
Well, let's see. I got the purple stuff.
You know the stuff I want.
Sunny D.
Oh, God,
yeah,
that's
Sunny
so
D.
Disgusting.
Yeah. I got your hookup, Jordan.
Thanks.
And for all of you out there that have enjoyed Jordan and Jocelyn's coverage of Disco and Picard like I have, I apologize that you're stuck with me again for the next 10 weeks. It has been a while since I've been on, so for those that don't know me, folks around these parts call me the Duke.
What you do?
And to my
we
left,
do?
it's my co-host and co-live partner, Chelsea. Hello, Chelsea.
Hey, guys.
The episode we're reviewing tonight will be rated on a scale from 1 to 10 by us, the co-hosts, and you guys in the Star Trek Wars Council that left a rating on our Facebook page. If you wish to join the council and have your vote counted for next week's episode, head over to that page. You can find us by searching for Star Trek Wars. The council should pop up right at the top. There you can rate episodes yourself and can also leave a comment that'll be potentially read on air. It's a great community. We're all on there, very active, and love talking Trek with you. Now, if you find a correction for today's episode, some of us are a little rusty. We'd love to hear from you, so let us know by writing us on Facebook, or you can email us at StarTrekWarsPod@gmail.com. If you'd like to leave a voice message instead, you can call us at speakpipe.com/Star Trek Wars, and we may play your message on next week's episode.
Be careful not to go to speakpike.com, otherwise the message will sound a little something like this. Beep. Beep, beep. So, just a warning.
Can we get that copyrighted? Speakpike.com?
I think so.
Oh, sorry. Haggith is flagging me down. What's that, Haggith?
So let's get down to the business.
You're right, Haggith. Let's get down to the business right now with that button that I always hit at this time here. Star Trek Strange New Worlds, Season 2, Episode 1, The Broken Circle, written by Akiva Goldsman and Henry Alonzo Myers, directed by Chris Fisher. A distress call from Lieutenant Noonien Singh compels Spock to disobey orders and take the USS Enterprise and its crew into disputed space, risking renewed hostilities with the Klingons in a bid to aid their shipment. Now, of course, we have the segment Hit It or Quit It, where we have our brief initial reactions to tonight's episode. If you like tonight's episode, you'll want to
Hit it.
And of course, if maybe you didn't love tonight's episode, you might...
I quit. To hell with you.
Yes, thank you, Cisco and Christopher. Chelsea, let's start with you. Will you hit it or quit it this week in the premiere of Strange New Worlds?
I don't think I want to hit it or quit it. I think I just want to maybe slowly drive by and just quietly judge it a little bit.
Okay, drive-by judging.
Yeah.
Interesting. What about you, Jordan?
I completely agree. I don't really want to hit it. Definitely don't want to quit it, but it wasn't the strongest premiere. And my expectations were very high because it's been a while. But there's some good stuff for sure, but I had some issues.
I think we all three might be in agreement because, yeah, it's mixed for me too. I guess I want to hit it and quit it. I want to hit it like a roided up Mbenga, but I'd also quit it like a Klingon in a drinking contest against Lon. But before we get to all the negativities, there are a lot of positives in this episode. Jordan, let's start with you. What are your pros for this week?
Pro-wise, I thought it's always cool to see the Enterprise at a space dock, because in the original series, the space dock is like K7, and it's just kind of floating around. It's actually, you get to see it docked, you get to see the ship getting repaired. It makes a lot more sense that the Enterprise can't just fly around for years and years without going somewhere where it can get fixed. Scotty just kind of held it together somehow. Spock playing his Lear and how that kind of comes about as a way for Spock to help control his stress and his emotions, I thought was really cool, and that adds a little depth to future uses of the instrument. I also like that they were trying to do with Mbenga and Chapel storyline. I thought it could have been done a little more believably, but I do like some of the scenes with Mbenga, and we find out he spent some time, during the war. He knows a little bit about Klingon medicine. I thought those scenes were good. The Klingon makeup, it's a little hit and miss canonically, perhaps, but I'm glad they went this way. There may be some that disagree with me, but for the most part, it looked good. There was a few, I don't know what it is about the newer prosthetics or makeup that they use. It must just be faster, but it just doesn't look quite as good as even like the 90s makeup for some reason. So the Klingons trying to start a war by building their own Starfleet ship seems like something the Klingons of the original series would definitely do. Hungover Spock, also pretty funny. He's like, do you have to yell? I guess it's like me every morning. And it looks like we won't have to wait long for Lieutenant Soong to be back. So glad to see her back. That didn't take long at all, seriously. She was gone for as long, I guess, as the show was on hiatus.
Yeah.
And then the Gorn again. It's really cool that they're kind of bringing that up as a threat. Again, kind of skirting canon a little bit, but I'm okay with it in most cases in the show. I think they know where they can and can't really do that where it plays. Neutral zone wise, the red shirt guy, he looked exactly like the guy who got killed by the Gorn last season, I think. Maybe not. But when I saw him, I was like, wait, didn't that guy get killed? But it was, I guess, a different guy. Commander Pelia, she just escapes the cons because it's very early, but my goodness, I'm not sure what that was. I like Mrs. Kane, but man, that's a strong choice. So if Miracle Max was there too, maybe it would play, but whew, we'll see what happens there. And I know Jeremy might disagree on this point, but the fact that neither Chapel or Mbenga can die does take some of the drama out of this episode for me. Yeah. Because there's definitely lengthy scenes there where they're building the tension, the drama, and it's just like, okay, like I know what's going to happen here. They also really are playing up the Spock Chapel stuff from last season, kind of going into the season. I thought they might pull back on that a little bit because they played it up a lot last season as well. And it's okay, but I feel like it comes up every other episode in this show. The writers just love writing about Spock and having, an attraction towards someone or feelings towards someone that he can't really act on. And I kind of get that temptation, but at the same time, I hope they maybe only have one other episode that focuses on that. I really miss Pike. It's neutral zone because the other characters get time to shine, but man, you have like my favorite character. He's not in the episode, but 10 seconds this week. That kind of stunk. I know next week we'll probably get an extended amount of Pike and Una, but we didn't get either of them this week at all. So that's pretty much all my thoughts on the positive side in the neutral zone.
Awesome. Thank you, Jordan. Chelsea, you got some pros? Yeah.
I also I don't know if this was your neutral zone, Jordan, but I liked the Mbenga backstory. He didn't get a ton, I don't feel like, last season outside of like his daughter.
Yeah.
So that was kind of cool. I really liked him being all roided up and just like, I don't know. That was interesting because he's so like nice and sweet, and we've only seen that side of him, and now he's just like murdering Klingons.
Yeah. Banging heads together.
Exactly. I like that Carol Kane played her character from Scrooged, but in space.
Yeah.
It's waiting for her to hit Spock with a toaster.
It's so weird, and it kind of felt out of place, but for her, it's like, is it out of place, though? Yeah,
I was really interested about how you guys were going to take to that character. It's tough for me, and we definitely got to wait it out, but personally, I love Carol Kane so much. It is a lot, but I love it, and I don't know if there's just bias because of how much I love her, but she is so weird. Maybe it's out of place, but I really dug her.
Yeah, it doesn't fit, but I like it. it would have been perfect for her to be in like the fairy tale episode, and she could have actually been like the godmother ghost of future or whatever she is from Scrooged. I also what are they, like biodome things on the space dock?
Yeah, at Starbase One.
Yeah, those were cool. Like they had like one that looked like it was just like all snowy mountains,
like a snow globe.
Yeah, that was so cool. Yeah, it was fine. Spock had some good moments.
Just seems like Jordan, you're just a little underwhelmed with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's probably it for me.
That's fair. Yeah, you're right, Jordan. It sure didn't take long to get her back. I think my biggest pro of this episode is Ethan Peck. He's great, and I love this young, emotional, like between the Cage and the original series Spock that they're going for, and I think Ethan is perfectly delivering it because it's not easy. Yeah, he's half human, so we get to see him be a bit emotional, but I don't think people understand how hard it is to be a Vulcan, like act as a Vulcan. I think too many times they just think it's no emotion and they just deliver every line flat. When it's so much the opposite. And they say as much in this episode. It's that they have too much emotion and they're suppressing it. And it's so hard. It's so hard to act. And I think he delivers it so great. And yeah, Spock, are you hungover? That was great. It's speaking of acting, it's really hard to play believably drunk because it's usually like overacted. But Spock hopped up on the old blood whinies was so well done. Like because he was so just understated, but clearly compromised. April tells Spock to never hijack the Enterprise again, and he won't for a few more years until he slips on his sexiest menagerie.
It's a two-piece.
It really is a two-piece. Yeah, the Vulcan loot with Uhura overhearing. I love that. And, Ethan Peck plays the cello. Celia Rose has an amazing singing voice. So by the end of this season, we should be getting a classic Spock Uhura joint. And I'm really excited for that.
Can't wait for her to say, "You play, brother?"
And if this doesn't happen, the writers over there on Modern Trek are just a bunch of Herberts.
It's word. I heard rumors of a musical episode. I don't know if that's true or not, or if someone's just spreading lies, but I know Jocelyn would be so happy. She's been wanting that for about 800 episodes. So
Jocelyn's definitely invited on for the musical.
Yeah, for sure.
And then I agree, Chelsea, Chapel and Mbenga and the fallout from the Klingon War. I love that whole aspect of the episode, and those two together were so great. We don't see like the like steroided out, but I mean things happened during the Klingon War that we didn't get a good look at too. So you really start seeing what humans had to go to just to keep up with the Klingons, and I love that aspect of it. And I don't know, man, is there a better looking cast in the history of television than Strange New Worlds?
I mean, see the CW.
But that
act. Doesn't count.
Yeah.
Not those.
That's literally all they do. Like, can you act? No. You are attractive. You're hired.
But how cool is Mbenga? Like, how cool does he look? Especially when you get them like out of their Starfleet clothes and they're just like kick-ass attire. Those are the toys I still would buy. And yeah, Chapel and Spock. I know it's wrong, Jordan, but I love it.
You don't want to be right.
I don't want to be right. And we're going to come a long way from this will they, won't they, to him throwing soup at her in 7 years. But I'm loving every second of it. Like, I understand, it's all canon. Pike has to end up in his beep chair. I get it, and it hurts. But man, this might hurt more than that. Is that there's the chemistry between the two actors, and Chapel and Spock is great.
You lost me at beep chair.
I'd put Pike in that chair and take away his beeps if it meant getting Chapel and Spock together. But other than that, I had Carol Kane as a pro. We already talked about that. She's intense, but I love her. We'll see where it goes. Neutral zone wise, I agree with you, Jordan. Klingon makeup, it's too smooth. It looks too... Those forehead turtle shells, they're too soft.
Mm-hmm.
They look like they're just like squishy.
Well, aren't they skin?
On the show, but it doesn't look like it. It looks like styrofoam, like smooth squish.
Plastic or rubber.
Yeah, the turtle
noticed.
heads should be like.
Ew.
Well, and that's
Turtley.
not
More turtley.
that's not racist.
What?
Some of my closest friends are spoonheads. The turtle shells.
This took a weird turn.
I just think there's something off about them. And I'm going to say this, and you guys won't agree with me, for like you haven't for the last minute. I think modern Trek, the Klingons in modern Trek look their best in peaked in Discovery season 2 when they gave those Klingons hair.
Oh.
When you had like the albino with.
No.
We're talking looks wise only, Jordan. Not how they speak. But I think they nailed it in season 2 with the albino.
Like over
the Klingons here.
Oh, okay.
There's something about they're too soft.
They just looked kind of shiny, but that was all. Like they just like got their little foreheads off of like a brand new, I don't know, Klingon forehead conveyor belt.
Yeah.
These haven't been worn enough.
Yeah, the foreheads are
Just
too.
break it in.
They haven't seen war.
Throw some dust on them.
This Klingon captain's never seen war. Look how smooth his head is.
Maybe they have like a oily skin problem on that weird mining planet.
Now, I wish that was a B plot, but we're just going to have to headcanon that. All right. Any other pros or neutral zones from you guys? Okay. I think we will, after the break, jump into our cons right after this. Star Trek Wars is a podcast that has reviewed every single episode of Star Trek. We covered the original series through Enterprise in the first 7 seasons on this feed, and Season 8 is dedicated to the Trek films. Season 9, well, that's where you're at now, where we cover all things modern Trek. You can find every one of those right here on the Star Trek Wars feed, plus bonus content with over 330 episodes of Trek content. It's never been a better time to hit it. On top of that, we also have a Patreon channel that covers a wide variety of content, both Trek related and otherwise. For just a few bucks a month, you'll get access to all that content as well. Check us out over at patreon.com/Star Trek Wars. Now, let's get into our... All right, let's get into our cons. Jordan, what did not work this week for you?
Well, you kind of referenced this, but it was kind of weird to see a Starfleet doctor who has sworn the Hippocratic Oath inject himself with drugs so he could beat the crap out of some Klingons and torture them. What in the heck was that? No explanation. He just got vials in his pants of just spinach juice, I assume? Like, what is happening? That was a long scene, too. And by the way, he's like, oh, hey, Nurse Chapel, 105-pound Nurse Chapel. Here, take a hit of this. And then no side effects. Yeah. Listen, kids, you can take drugs, too. Beat up some Klingons. No crash, just smash. Like, what the heck? I have no idea where that came from. I didn't even know what I was watching for like 5 minutes. I mean, the action scenes were well choreographed. It looked cool, but if Nurse Chapel can just take drugs and beat up Klingons, what's the point of Klingons? It's a little, or the doctor, like he's a doctor, and all of a sudden he's just hulked out. Like, did he get hit by gamma rays? What is going on here? I also felt there was a little too much small talk on the bridge. Like, I understand the pilot, and she's kind of hotshottish, and that's how she talks. But everyone on the bridge is like talking about this catchphrase thing, and like they've already done this before in Discovery with Saru, and I thought they did it better, and it was funny because he's like asking the computer about captains. He's trying to learn, and he's not a human, so it's kind of, I guess Spock's not either, but very alien to him.
Yeah.
They're in the middle of stealing a ship, and they're talking about catchphrases. It was a little bizarre. It seemed like one of those scenes that's in there just to be in the trailer and to be funny, but wasn't my favorite. And then lastly, this episode feels to me like it's trying too hard to be cool. Like, this isn't your daddy's Star Trek kind of thing. Like the black leather outfits, the super strength, the hot wiring doors. Like it's Star Wars. They had a toy thermal detonator thing that Lon had. It just felt as if season 2 got picked up by the CW. So to tie it back into what we were talking about earlier. So, I mean, this isn't Babylon 5. Come on. So that's most of the cons. I mean, there's small things here and there, but overall, it wasn't a bad episode by any means, but it just is the most J.J. Abrams movie feeling episode of Star Trek I've seen in a long time. Then they love doing spacesuits. Like premieres and finales, I feel like have to have a spacesuit or jump, or maybe no suit in this case. But not bad. Just I'm looking for a little more depth in my Star Trek, I guess.
Yeah, definitely not a bad episode. But we have mentioned CW twice in discussing it, so that's not a great sign. Chelsea, what didn't work for you?
So I thought it was. I don't like that Pike wasn't really in it. It makes sense, like where he was going and why he wasn't in it. But that's just a really weird choice to me for a first episode.
Yeah, for a premiere.
Yeah, especially because of how much he's like. Well, not only is he the captain, but he's like a fan favorite. So that just felt strange. Like that seemed more like it should be like an episode 2 thing, maybe. La'an, just like, what was the point in like the whole big long goodbye? I'm gonna take off for a while. If, like Jordan said, she was gone as long as the show was. I don't really understand that. It just kind of feels like it cheapens it. And now, anytime they're like supposedly writing somebody off the show, nobody's gonna believe it. This like. People flying through space, and maybe this is just because this seems to be happening across like all kinds of different shows or franchises, but can we not? Like, I'm so sick of just seeing humans like launched into space and then they survive. I think it's overdone, and it's just kind of, I don't know, get creative, figure something else out. Other than that, the whole episode to me was just kind of boring. Like, there wasn't anything that really stood out. There wasn't really anything that I want to watch again. I don't know. Coming off of the first season, it was a little shocking because it wasn't as riveting as I was hoping, I guess.
Yeah, and I think because we all loved the first season so much, and I think we're all going to love season 2 also, this just seems a bit shocking just because, man, I don't think I had a single quit it in season 1, period. So when you have like 11 episodes and the first 10 are incredible, and then you have one that's maybe middle of the road, it kind of sticks out a bit. Yeah. It's a Lower Decks situation. We run into that with Lower Decks, where we love every season of Lower Decks, but the season premieres are not the strongest episodes.
Yeah, it's, I don't know. I get it. It's tough. Like, you're trying to set up an entire season, but maybe don't do that without the captain next time.
Yeah, some weird choices. And like Lower Decks, this doesn't make me feel any worse about the show. Like, I have every confidence that this season's going to be incredible, and I bet episode 2 is going to be amazing. It's just some weird choices right out of the gate after waiting a year.
Yeah, and I also agree with Jordan. The dialogue on the bridge when they were waiting to like take off, it seemed forced.
Yeah,
very small talky and kind of like uncomfortable, especially like. It's like kind of cringy, right? Like secondhand embarrassment. It's like, can we just go? Like, this isn't moving the story.
I would like
along.
the show to go
now. But yeah, I think that's probably it for me.
Well, that leads right into maybe my biggest con, and that's exactly it. That every captain needs a thing. No, they don't. That's a modern Trek thing that I don't love. And I love modern Trek. But that starts getting a little too meta for my taste. That's not a thing. It's never been a thing. It was never a thing until these new 5 episodes, these new 5 shows. But all of our new shows have played that notion up. They've done that in Disco, which I agree, Jordan. That was good with Saru because he was just researching and trying to find his thing. And I like that. Prodigy did it this season also. In their first season, they had that. Lower Decks had a scene with that where she ended up on, was it Warp Me or whatever? But
it makes more sense in Lower Decks.
It does. Because that's where the meta goes. Like, that makes sense. Disco made sense. And then Picard basically ended season 3 with that
7
same
9,
thing.
Yeah.
And now Strange New Worlds is doing it. Like, this is not a thing. I wish they would stop trying to make this a thing because I just don't like it. In the classic first 5 Trek show era, only Picard had one in Next Generation. And it wasn't a fancy one-liner. It was just another word for, okay, do it. Like, I've given you the order. It's locked in. Great. Let her rip.
I think mine would be, get it.
That's good.
Would you say it like that, though?
You'd have to.
Get
it. Then I'm in. Yeah. I think Janeway's catchphrase was do it, pretty much.
Yeah. Do it. Do it.
Do it.
Do it. Do it.
Oh, wait. No. That would I get him confused. Palpatine, Janeway, similar tones.
Yeah, we're pikeless. Hopefully we get more Anson Mount down the pike. I think I'd prefer the premiere be, you talked about this, Joseph, the Pike #1 trial episode. That seems like a good season premiere, right? Like, you get that heavy Star Trek drama episode, and then having this be episode 2, maybe saying, well, what was everybody doing during this?
Yeah, and that
for
would make
episode
more
2.
sense for the La'an departure as well.
Yeah.
Especially since it's a streaming show and it's not on network television, you don't have to have that big flashy episode that anyone can just tune into. Like, you can carry over from last season and give us the courtroom drama episode.
Yeah, I would love that. So, but yeah, I can't wait for next week when they put Una on trial. I think that was supposed to be a Lion King reference. Put Una on trial? All right.
It means, yeah, no worries.
No worries.
You're going to jail.
And for the rest of your days. Here we Gorn again. Again with the Gorn.
Yes.
Oh, that's a con?
Yeah. Well, we'll see how it goes. Maybe that would have been in my neutral zones. But
oh, they're definitely in the neutral zone. Did you see that last scene?
yeah, they're dangerously close.
Creeping in.
I think I put this in a con, and it's mostly on me because I have a joke. Do you know what they call it when a Gorn yells at you? Catching some Z's.
Oh my god.
But that's what we thought about this week's episode. Let's hear from you guys at home.
Picking up communication, sir.
Keith Danforth says, solid opening salvo for the season, teasing us with how Pike plans to spring Una out of jail while committing the episode to a plot that centers around at least 4 different characters at one point, without really spending a lot of time on any one person. That did feel a bit underwhelming, but it kind of got washed away by Bloodwine and Ethan Peck's ability to portray Spock struggling with human emotions. Let's at least bang a few more Bloodwines down for the fact that Strange New Worlds committed to the correct depiction of Klingons. Sorry, Discovery, Season 1. My only other observation from this episode is Pelia. Pelia?
Pelia, yeah.
I had assumed she was just going to be another quirky chief engineer in the Enterprise's long history of quirky chief engineers, but her being of a species called the Lanthanite, whom had been living among humans undetected until the 22nd century, I am now curious about how much they will expand on this new race in the show. I just hope she gets to gracefully leave the ship after her tenure and not exit the ship downwards like the last guy. Finally, at the end, the Gorn. I know the Gorn has been kind of the focus of Strange New Worlds as the series' primary antagonist, but I was kind of hoping they'd be more of a 1 or 2 off episode baddie and not taking up a lot of screen time. I really do just want one Trek series to have fun with dilemmas of the week and not some overarching plot. 8 knocked out Klingons in a hallway of 10.
Will Flores says, not a bad season premiere, but a few hand-wavy plot things took me out of it a little bit. And no Pike during the premiere? I can understand having a Spock-centered episode, but the season premiere seems a little out of place. Not a bad episode, but one that left me needing something more rather than just wanting more. 6 Bloodwine beard streaks.
And Christopher says, love the episode. It picked right back up with exceptional quality. Only reason it wasn't a 10 is because it'll get boring if I just keep rating every episode of Strange New Worlds as a 10, which I could easily do. Fabulous casting and ensemble. Long may this show continue. 9 barrels of Bloodwine out of 10.
Mike Schmidt says, I'll raise a tankard of Bloodwine to this episode. What would have made it a 10 for me is if Carol Kane's character had said, have fun storming the Klingons.
I agree.
Although I agree with the comments about not having Pike for the whole episode, but perhaps this season may prepare us for his departure? Oh no, Mike. I'm not ready for that.
You just said you would put him in his beep chair if you could ship Chapel and Spock, sir.
I mean, yeah, there's reasons that would get me on board, sure.
William Shanks says, late to the party here, as is often true. I enjoyed this episode, and I thought it was a good setup for things to come, although it underwhelmed me a little as a season opener, per se. Strange New Worlds is a good quality show, and just because I wasn't blown away by a single particular episode, I'm not worried. I do have a few nits to pick, though, along with some other comments. I hope I don't sound too negative. The space fighting uppers are probably fairly realistic as an idea. They didn't sow something silly like turn you into a Klingon face. They just amped you as far as we can tell. We gave amphetamines to soldiers 100 years ago in World War II, if I recall correctly. So as a general matter, I have no problem with the concept of juicing oneself for a fight. But if that's a thing in the Star Trek universe, why is this the first time we've seen it? Can we just stop using tech as a cliche word to describe something, technology device, that the writers don't want to explain? It's so trite. Band beside, in the real world, tech means a relatively low-level employee that operates some machine or does some task, short up for technician. More often than actual technologies use it like tech bro or whatever. Carol Kane's character is going to be an acquired taste for me. I'll work on it. Is that how she always sounds, or is that put on for this show?
It's a little bit of both.
Yeah, I say, she puts it on for everything she's in, I think, but I don't think that's her real voice.
No.
Not a nit complaint, frankly. I'm glad if so, because it was normalized, not emphasized. Did we briefly see another non-binary character? I've never been a fan of Spock's loot or the singing episode in TOS, but that was a good backstory of how he got involved in it. The catchphrase scene was amusing, almost like the writers read Twitter or something. As a kid who grew up in Southern California, I'm definitely rooting for Vamoose, even from Spock. That'd be a shocker. We spent what seemed like a lot of screen time in the actual fights. Hooray for Star Trek finally knowing you don't die freeze instantly from being ejected into space. I'm looking at you, Picard episode 8 or 9. But where did the water for the ice on the hair and the uniform come from? I suppose they just want you to think Frozen without thinking too hard. Silly mistake, maybe. Right around mouth, nose, but on clothing? What was I missing about why they couldn't have TOS-style communications to talk to each other? There's lots of potential and multiple storylines for us to follow, so I'm ready for next week's show.
All right, and Barbara Whipple says, somewhat disappointed that Una wasn't in the story much because she's never had much airtime, but I loved the energy and humor of the beginning, especially the jokes about stealing the Enterprise, because that's kind of become a standing joke, hasn't it? How many times has that happened?
Well, this is the first, right? Canonically? I know Archer probably stole the Enterprise a few times. And finally, Sean Logger says, I'll start at 5 and take away 1 point every episode Laka's wife talks. All right, so we seem to be a little mixed on Carol Kane, and I understand. I understand. But at least that's an old Taxi reference, so old people like me got it. Thank you to everyone who wrote in. We hope to you write back next week, all right? Like riding a bicycle. Oh, now it's time for the segment everybody loves, the Gatekeeper of Forever. All right, it's that part of that podcast where we take a nostalgic trip through time and visit the Gatekeeper of Forever. Oh, great Gatekeeper, as we all know, since before our sun burned hot in space and before our race was born, you have awaited a question. And that question being, of course, what's your thoughts on the premiere of Strange New Worlds?
I've been sleeping since season 1 ended, and after watching this episode, I wish I still was. You call this Star Trek? I've seen more plot in a Fast and Furious movie. Who were those aliens this week? Hashtag not my Klingons. I prefer my Klingons as white guys with bronzer and fake facial hair. Where did we go wrong? I can't believe this was a season premiere. Like, I remember when Star Trek used to be good. The season 2 premiere of TOS was incredible. Perhaps you recall a little episode called Amok Time. This episode should have been called A Waste of Time. Oh crap, I gotta go. I forgot to cancel my timeshare on Ryza.
There he goes. He just scooted off. Always
Really
a pleasure.
mobile for a big guy.
He's out of breath. He's like hunched over there. Always a pleasure, Gatekeeper of Forever. All right, let's go ahead and rate this sucker. Jordan, what are you giving The Broken Circle?
I think a 7. Between like a 6.5 and a 7. I don't know what my lowest rating for a Strange New Worlds episode is. Probably a 7, so I guess that's fair. 7 as in 7 seconds is probably how long you'd actually survive in the vacuum of space.
Yeah. Chelsea.
I am going to give it 6 corn chips.
Corn chips? You say corn chips?
No, but I misread it on the screen when it said Gorn ships, and for like a half second I thought it said corn chips with like little bleeps, and I was like, what in the hell?
Is that why you were licking your lips?
Yeah, I was pretty hungry, I guess.
I'm going to give this one a 6. Also, 6 April Fools. Because Spock made April a fool this week, didn't he?
Got him.
Yeah, we knew why.
You only have to explain if it's corn chips, okay?
Okay, fair enough, fair enough. All right. Next time ons. Jordan, you got a next time on this
I
week?
do. I almost had to. I started writing one, but I came up with a different one. Carol Kane's character does not last long, as next week she's replaced with a new engineer. None other than Hemmer's twin sister, who's actually played by Reese Witherspoon in the episode Legally Blind. I couldn't get through it. Legally Blind.
Whew. Thank you, Jordan. I've been thinking about Captain Catchphrases. And like you, Chelsea, I've been thinking of a few that I would use
Okay.
if I was captain. So I'm just going to run through like 20 or so. And you guys let me know which ones work best for you, okay?
Okay.
Let the good times roll. Okay, no thumbs up on that one. Yum, yum. I've been a real bad boy.
You're getting worse.
Let's get nuts. That's a spicy meatball. Crunk it. Crank it. Spank it.
I like that one.
Okay, yeah, because those are 3 different ones. Vamoose, you little varmin. Juicy. Let's hunt some elk. Thank you, Daddy. Who's laughing now? Well, we're waiting. I'm loving it. Just do it. Taste the rainbow. Oh my God. Where's the beef? And at that point, I realized I was just doing ad campaigns from the
Slogans.
80s. Yeah. All right. Let me tabble up these numbers.
Dabble?
It's just gonna dabble in some tabble. I think you missed a few like key catchphrases. You could have done
You got some more?
like bop it, twist it, pull it,
Yeah. Pull it.
Squeeze it.
shake it.
Was that one of them? That's actually a fun game. I haven't played that in a long time.
Set a course to the Devron system. Squeeze it. Cheez-It's not bad either.
I think you should go with spank it.
Spank it.
I think, we're waiting. As long as you say it like Grand Negus
Like
said.
the Grand Negus. Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right. I should mention too, Star Trek Wars Council. I gave it a higher score than all of us. I gave it a average score of an 8. 8. So with all of our powers combined,
Wind. Water. Earth.
heart.
Was that one of them?
That was the last one, but I think we're missing
Oh.
one.
Does it be like fire?
Fire. Yep.
Earth,
that's it.
wind, fire. Yeah, that's it.
How did Strange New Worlds do this week? Well, using the combined average score of ourselves and you guys who voted at home, the Broken Circle lands with an average score of a 6.75. That'll do it for this week. Strange week indeed. Star Trek Wars is available on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, and anywhere else fine podcasts are heard. If you want to support us in a non-financial way, the absolute best thing you can do is take a minute to leave an iTunes Apple Podcast review. That might not seem like much, but it's huge for the
Al Gore?
rhythm.
For us simple folk.
Recent reviews are what help other like-minded Trekkies like you find us. So please, write a 5-star review and we'll read it on air. And if you want someone else to read it, just mention that in the review and I'll be happy to let someone else do that. You can also find us on Twitter at These Star Trek Wars. And if you want a shirt, a hoodie, or mug, head over to StarTrekWars.redbubble.com. I haven't talked this much in, I don't know, a year and a half. I hope it's not showing. I'll follow the link attached to this episode. Jordan, always a pleasure. Where can they find you?
It's been a pleasure. They can find me next week or on the Facebook page, Star Trek Wars Council. I'm looking forward to the next episode. I did not see any previews or anything, but I think I can guess what it is.
And I think that would be absolutely right. And I'm definitely looking forward to it. Chelsea, as always, thanks for doing this with me.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me.
You're very welcome. As for me, well, when I'm not talking Trek, you can find myself and my son Connor discussing all the Bond films at Bonding Together, available on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And as you can tell, I let Connor do most of the talking.
I think that's fair.
And that is it for New Trek this week. But Strange New Worlds will return next week to discuss their second episode titled Ad Astra per Aspera, which is Latin for To the Stars.
The asparagus is... Oh, sorry.
Ed Asner loves asparagus.
That's what I heard.
Is Latin for To the Stars through difficulties. Until then, I would like this podcast to stop now.
Thanks for listening to Star Trek Wars.